Ashley, welcome to the show. Man, we're down here in the Carolinas and we're ready to go. How's it feel to be Ashley today?
Yeah, it feels great. Most days it feels good. I'm only human, so I'm not perfect, but most days it's pretty good to be Ashley.
Man, does it feel as good as somebody's excitement level today going into a end of the year party we were chatting about? Do you feel that good right now?
I feel pretty good. My son is super pumped about the end of the year school party, and
Yeah.
so I'm feeling his energy.
That's awesome. If we could just
Yeah.
have that ability to dive into that, and multiple times throughout the day, just be able to pick up a little piece of that magic that's
Oh
happening
yeah.
in their
Yep.
innocent lives,
Yep.
so
They
it's so
just
cool.
they live right in the moment. That's for sure.
But what gives you the ability to do that is where you're at in your investing career, and you are a seasoned real estate veteran here on the show today. So let's just jump right into this
Yeah.
and get into the meats and carrots here. First of all, just a little bit of a background. Were you in any other professions? Have you always been real estate driven?
Yeah, I'm one of those people that's like real estate's the only thing I've ever done, and I've done a lot of things in real estate. But it's always been a real estate kind of career for me. I tell people I'd be the world's worst employee, like a true W-2 having to clock in employee. I've just always been in real estate. The first one was a 10 unit place, and I just kind of bought that. It was during the those years, between like 8 to '08 and 15 when the world was kind of it's tough sailing for a lot of people, and there was a kind of a hybrid short sale situation, and I bought this 10 unit place for $250,000, and I put another 250,000 into it, fixed it up, and that was in 2013. And I still own that place, and it's tempting to sell that one and cash in, but it makes too much money and it just keeps going up in value. So I'm holding on to it. And in every one of these deals, it's not all easy. I mean, I remember some really tough times in that first one as I was learning through that 10 unit. And hurricanes happen and the place is half empty and I don't have enough money to pay the bank and some tough stuff as we go. But again, that's just, like you taught your son, you just don't be afraid of that. You just have to get there and you have to deal with it. The biggest challenge that I seem to have is, time and money, right? As long as you have ample time and ample money, there's usually not a big problem. Things get a little tense when you either run out of time or run out of money, and they get real tense if you run out of both of them
Yeah.
together. And so really, like, as long as if you're undercapitalized, things are stressful right from the start, and they stay stressful until you can get that thing turned around. And the value add time of that segment of time in the process takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time, and you don't get a whole lot of return on your money until you finish that phase. And so that's the biggest challenge is just to know, like, make sure you're capitalized well enough because there's always going to be some unknowns. There's always going to cost more than you think. And then just keep your head down and keep grinding until you get to the other side of that phase. I assume if you've gotten to that point of your, hey, I'm ready to wire the funds, then you've got that level of confidence in the deal and in the sponsor. So I think we're going to assume that. So you're ready to wire the funds. I think you need to know, all right, when obviously am I going to get my money back? What's my expectation of distributions? Is this a cash flow deal or is this only an appreciation deal? And again, if you've gotten to the point of wiring money, I'm assuming that you know all that. A simple thing is just you've got to call and verify those wiring instructions. I know that sounds mundane, but you'd hate to wire the money and it end up somewhere where you'll never see it again. And that happens a lot. Like personally, I like to file things on time. However, just timing wise, in a syndication, there's so much paperwork on our end with our CPAs and accountants that a lot of times extensions need to happen. So yeah, you need to be prepared to file that extension if you need to. We do our best to get those K1s out so you don't, but a lot of times I think you need to.
Awesome. And yeah, and K1's kind of like just the document that comes from the entity or the business saying, hey, we're dispersing you this much money, or you've given us this much
Right.
money, kind of thing. Just a general piece, right?
True. And that's also where this depreciation piece comes in. So,
Mhm.
especially early on, as you know, in the ownership, if you do the cost segregation study or if you utilize bonus depreciation, those kind of things, it's quite likely that the first year, two, maybe even three, who knows, just depends on the numbers, you might be getting back a negative number on that K1 tax document that shows a loss on your taxable income. Hopefully paired with the fact that you've been receiving distribution cash checks. So
Oh, wow.
the idea is that you get paid cash, but you're showing a taxable loss, which reduces your tax liability. That's like the holy grail of all this.
Yeah, yeah. And for the listeners, there Ashley was giving us the air quotes on the loss, meaning that
Yeah,
it wasn't additional capital contribution made. It was just a depreciation outrunning the disbursement.
right. I mean, that's been the tough part lately is finding a deal that will pencil, as they say. We run hundreds of spreadsheets to find the deal that will work. For us, it's it has to work, meaning it has to cash flow like as it is. In other words, we're not trying to buy something at an inflated value that will cash flow once we go in and do all this stuff to it and take all this risk and do all this work. That doesn't make any sense. That's the gravy we should hope to get after doing all of our work and taking our risk. So
Mhm.
we usually, not usually, we won't move forward on a deal unless we know that we can cash flow at today's performance. Um, the financing is tough, and even sometimes you might be able to get a more attractive deal from the bank, but then the loan to value goes down. So we might need to raise more money from limited partner investors in that situation, so we keep our loan to value lower, uh, things like that. But financing always is, and it always will be the key right now. It's been a challenge for the past little while, and we'll see what happens later this year. I wish I had a crystal ball. I really think that if you just have to know who you're getting involved with, because once you send that 50, 100, 250, $500,000 in cash, it's gone, and your hope of getting it back with your return is all dependent on the general partner sponsor. And you really need to have a level of confidence in that person, group of people, their track record, are they trustworthy, things like that. That's really the main thing.
And if you had to start all over today, you had $50,000.